You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Happy Friday. You know what that means. That means we have the big preview show this week. And as we always do, tight end, former Michigan tight end, Jake Butt, the Mackey Award-winning tight end. I keep on saying tight end. I don't know what my deal is today. I think it's because of all the travel. Anyway, Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. I am your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. So, Jake, today we get to preview Maryland. And boy, do we have a preview for you. So it's not exactly the game that it looked like it could have been at the beginning of the year. Before the year, I had this as the ultimate trap game. I had this as a potential loss when Maryland started out 4-0. I thought, yep, here we go. That's going to be a tough game on the road. Maryland got one more win after that and nothing else. So it's not exactly looking like a murderer's row of a game. So anyway, we'll just jump right in. Jake, how do you see this game?
Yeah, Maryland is not a good football team. They kind of seem to be in shambles right now, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Really, really struggling. And, you know, what I would hope for us and what I expect is us to go in there and handle business. So what I'll be watching a lot more closely is the Ohio State-Michigan State game. Obviously, we aren't necessarily rooting for Ohio State, but we're kind of rooting against Michigan State, which would mean if Ohio State comes out on top, we handle our business. We're both playing for a chance, next week, you have all the marbles in that game. So that's going to be the game I'm looking forward to tuning into. But don't really expect any hiccups this week. You always have a test with Ohio State around the corner to not overlook your opponent, to go in here and handle business early. I know we've had some injuries recently. Can we go in and win the game, get our starters out, early in the second half, and recoup and freshen up for the big one next week, Thanksgiving weekend against Ohio State?
Now, I know that you've been in obviously you've been in this situation where you're going up against a pretty good team the week before the game. How hard is it to keep your focus on when you're actually on the field, you're one of the players? How difficult is it to keep your focus to knowing that, okay, we have to win this game, but we are looking forward to Ohio State? Now, that said, I don't feel like any of these Michigan players are looking ahead. They're still saying the same things as like Ohio State doesn't matter if we don't focus on Maryland. But how difficult is it when you played Penn State in 2015, when you played Indiana in 2016, that being senior day, the special, like that's one of your favorite memories, right? All the snow coming down and everything. How hard was it to maintain your focus when you know what's coming up next?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly hard because as much as you'd like to say you're not thinking about the bigger picture, you are. And we know as a program, I think the players within the program understand that, the ultimate goal isn't to beat Maryland. It's to beat Maryland so that you can go into the Ohio State game with an opportunity to compete for a Big Ten championship and play in that game. So both can be true. You can say, hey, we have this big picture goal of, going on and playing in a Big Ten championship, winning a Big Ten championship, beating Ohio State next week. But none of that matters if we don't handle Maryland this week. So, Maryland's really, really been struggling. I think we have them outmatched in every facet of the game, and should go out there and handle business is what you expect. You just really, in a game like this, you really want to start fast and bury them early. Don't let them hang around. Don't give them any hope. It could be a trap game, but the longer you let them hang around and you don't throw and connect on the haymaker, the more dangerous this game becomes. So if we can pull out, a multi-score lead early in the first quarter, especially on the road, Maryland isn't exactly a hyped up stadium. You could really take the crowd out of it, take everybody out of it, and it could just be a routine game where, especially with us running the ball, can really control the tempo and control the pace.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that makes it even more dangerous in a weird way is that Mike Locksley said this week he thinks the Big Ten is going to come down not to what happens on Saturday between, for instance, Michigan State and Ohio State, He didn't say, yeah, we have an opportunity to take Michigan out of the race because we can go in there and we can get what we want to get done. Instead, he said flat out, I think that the Big Ten is going to come down to the Michigan-Ohio State game, which is essentially, in a way, conceding loss. But anyway, Michigan is going to have to figure out a way to get done what it needs to get done. In order to do that, we're going to delve a little bit deeper into the offense and the defense, not crazy deep because this is Maryland and we're saving our strength for Ohio State. We as well are just trying to get out of this healthy, Jake Butt and I. But anyway, before we get to that, I've got a couple things that I have to tell. Wolverines is brought to you by McDonald's, proudly serving communities since 1965. McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's a place where friends and family can come to reconnect. It's a place where classmates can meet up for a study group, knowing that they'll have dependable Wi-Fi and endless supplies of French fries and McFlurries. Win or lose, it's a place where teammates, competitors, the home team or the away team can come to recharge. It's a place where you always look forward to stopping on a long road trip to rest your legs and refuel. For instance, like I said, it's a place that with the Wi-Fi, my ex intern used to constantly, after every single Michigan game, he would stop at McDonald's and he would write all of his post-game articles there. And he would refuel before he had his long drive back up into the thumb area. So that's something that you can do at McDonald's. So whether it's coming in after a Little League game, stopping in McDonald's after you're coming back from a Michigan game, connecting to Wi-Fi, get some work done, birthday parties, someone that works at McDonald's, any of those things, head to your local McDonald's to refuel and reconnect. I'm loving it. All right, let us get back to it all. Jake, when I look at this game, I've been looking at it as kind of a dress rehearsal for the Ohio State game in a couple different ways. So hear me out here. Number one, you're going to be facing the best passing offense that you've seen to date. When you're Michigan in this case, Talia Tagovailoa certainly can sling it. If you don't watch out, he can get 300-400 yards on you. He might throw 3-4 interceptions, but he's still a prolific passer. His last name is Tagovailoa. He used to be at Alabama. That's all you kind of need to know on that front. They are injured as far as a lot of the wide receivers are concerned, but they still have a lot of really good offensive athletes. On the other side of the ball, they play man coverage. Their defense is not good. They're allergic to playing defense, but Michigan hasn't seen a lot of man coverage so far. These are the two things that you're going to see against Ohio State. You are going to see a prolific passer, a bunch of athletes at the skill positions, and man coverage. So with that in mind, how much do you think that I'm on track to something? Do you think I'm off base? Do you think it's one of those things where, yeah, maybe it is kind of almost like getting an extra scout team look essentially to Ohio State, or am I completely wrong? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I definitely agree with you in the sense that it seems Maryland really is trying to model their program kind of off of Ohio State. But then again, I guess that's kind of the landscape of college football in general. It seems to be, high flying, throw first offense. What makes Ohio State work, though, is they have 5 stars all over the field and on their bench. You know what Maryland doesn't have? 5 stars anywhere on the field or on their bench. So, of course, you're going to try to model off of success, which, Ohio State, hate to say it, pains me to say it, they've been very successful. So other programs are going to follow suit. And yeah, there is a threat of, Maryland throwing the ball. We know they're going to be pass committed, but, where they really struggle is in pass protection. I don't think their O-line has, proved to be very stout throughout the season. And with our 2 pass rushers coming off the edge, they really could terrorize these tackles. And I'll tell you what makes a quarterback uncomfortable. That's a couple shots to the rib in the pocket. And the sooner you can do it, the more frequently you can do it, the less comfortable. To his brother. I'm not going to try to say it, but to his brother will not feel too comfortable in the pocket throwing it around.
Talia Tagovailoa.
Okay, yeah, there you go. You guys heard Isaiah there. So Yeah, the more we can make him uncomfortable in the pocket, the sooner we can do it. I think the better we'll fare down the stretch. But they have nowhere near the talent on the offensive side of the ball as Ohio State. So from a scheme standpoint, yes, there is carryover. From a talent and an execution and a coaching standpoint, they're not really in the same league. Now, defensively, Maryland very much struggled all season. They've been giving up. Their scoring defense is not good. Their total defense is not good. Their rushing defense really not good. So what you can do, again, what I expect is, it's probably going to be a little bit boring on the offensive side of the ball. We are going to be a run heavy. I imagine us to be run committed throughout the game. Maybe we'll see Blake Corum get a couple snaps. I don't know whether or not he'll be back this week. Obviously, Hassan will be our bell cow. But really want to get those guys in, have a dominant performance, get them the hell out of there so they're fresh for the Ohio State game. But, all in all, similarities. I still think we should win this game clean, and we better not say that, Maryland's anywhere near Ohio State, because they aren't.
Well, actually, so there's two things here. Number one, I actually want to see Donovan Edwards get the bulk of carries in this game. Get him going, just in case, right?
Yep.
Because it's one of those things where he traveled to Penn State. He got all of 2 carries. It ended up being Hassan Haskins. I know the plan going in was for them to utilize Donovan Edwards more than they did. That didn't end up being the case.
Yeah.
They actually do, by the way. Maryland does have a 5-star in wide receiver Rakeem Jarrett. I was going to say Ricky Jarrett because I watch Ballers, right? So it's not Denzel Washington's son, the guy that plays Ricky Jarrett. I don't know if you watch Ballers, Jake, but nonetheless, they do have one 5-star at wide receiver. So you can see that they are trying to emulate that. But yeah, I also agree. I think that it's going to be one of those situations where Michigan should hypothetically be able to get in and out. But we have seen Maryland in the past do this the week before the game, but they did it to Ohio State in 2018 when they took them to overtime. Should have won the game in overtime if Tyrell Pigrome knew how to throw a pass just to a wide open guy in the end zone, which he just flat out missed him, wide open guy. Then that season certainly could have looked different. So we've already talked a little bit about, there's not a lot to talk about when it comes to Maryland, because it's one of those things where this is a game where Michigan, like I said, it should win. It should win comfortably. But I think that the biggest thing for me is going into this game is we get to learn how Michigan defense does against what looks to be like a really good passing offense. But like you mentioned, their offensive line isn't that good. So how much do you think that that defensive front is going to impact this game? I know this is a loaded question, but how much do you think that that's going to impact this game? But more so on the back end for Michigan's defense, what are you looking to see coming out of a game against a team that does have a good quarterback, that does have good receivers?
So when I look at pass defense, I look at a couple things. And what you really want to start with, especially against a team like Maryland, you can't give up the big play. You cannot give up an explosive play, no easy points, because you understand that you have more talent than them. So if you can make them work for it down the stretch, they're probably not going to, hurt you too much. But if you're giving up 60, 70-yard touchdowns, not only is those points, but that's confidence, that's speed and flow within the offense. So you got to avoid making the big mistake. That starts with, again, like we talked about, the pass rushes up front. If you can make the quarterback uncomfortable in the pocket, can you get a hand in his chest? Can you get a couple shots to his rib? Can you make him move off his spot when he's throwing the ball? That's going to lead to inaccurate passes. It's going to lead to offset timing from the routes to the quarterback, and it's going to lead to force maybe him to get off his main read early and down to his check down. So then you got to come up and tackle. But defensively, I think our back end has been pretty sound this year, again, most of the time. So can we avoid the big mistake and just play a sound, disciplined game? We're okay giving up some of the underneath passes as long as we float the ball and tackle. And in our linebackers, can our linebackers drop into their zones, understand crossing patterns and general route combinations behind? I don't think people understand is typically as a linebacker, you're not, especially when you're in zone coverages, you're not necessarily eyeing one man. You have to understand a route concept. So if you have 2 receivers to your side, and one receiver runs like a 5-yard hook or a 5-yard out, You know what that means is typically there's a route being prepared with it. Is there a dig behind it? So if you're a linebacker, you attach to the hook and then you get depth into your zone to take away the big play behind it. That's how you give up the 3 to 5 yard pass, come up and gang tackle the Maryland ball carrier immediately. So it's having a general understanding of your entire defense, but also having a feel and understanding of what Maryland's presenting from a route combination on their offensive side of the ball.
Well, I think that brings up an interesting thing because this is something that I've been thinking about coming out of Wednesday's press conference. George Hilo talked about. He was asked about defending the mesh concepts because Michigan has done a really good job doing that. I think that if Ryan Day the next week decides, hey, we're going to attack Michigan the same way we attacked them in 2018, it was a little bit different in 2019. They still got Michigan a few times with a couple of the crossing routes, but it was a little bit more balanced with the J.K. Dobbins really kind of taking things over. Michigan's been really good at it. I don't know if you saw the clip. I think it was the last play from the Penn State game. I saw it again on one of the Michigan sites out there, and there's interesting things that they're doing defensively. Mike McDonald's doing defensively in this particular play. They tried to run when Penn State, I think it was the final play that they had. They tried to run on fourth down that just a couple shallow crosses, which would have gotten them the first down because I think it was like 4th and 3 or 4th and 2 or something like that. But because of the way that the coverage worked, you had Mike Morris and Taylor Upshaw both showing blitz, and so much that they actually took the first 2 steps. And then as soon as those crossers started coming in, they actually backed into coverage and knocked those guys out. So it's really interesting. So I'm curious. They saw that on film or not, and I'm actually kind of daring Maryland to do that because I think it would help to basically show, hey, Ohio State, you're not going to be able to do this against Michigan. Anyhow, we will get to our score predictions and all of that momentarily. But before we do that, I do need to tell you a little something about betonline.ag. Listen, we're back and we're better than ever. New web interface for the start of basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your #1 spot for all of the basketball and football action this season. Head over to our new updated desktop or mobile website. Sign up today, receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Just use the promo code Locked On to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts, and where the game starts. Next thing I got to tell you a little something about is Built Bar. Y'all know how much I love Built Bar, and I apologize. For some reason, the TV reset here in my hotel room and is now making noise. I don't know why. But anyway, the thing about Built everything that you want. I can have 2 at a time, and it's not going to actually be as bad for me as getting like a Metrics Big 100 or something like that. It is so good. Jake, I have a couple that I need to get you still. I meant to bring it yesterday, and I totally forgot, and I realize that now. I have some coconut brownie chunk and peanut butter brownie. They're just incredible. I will bring you a couple of Built Bars this week so you can finally try it. Anyway, for any of you else out there who wants to try it, go to built.com, put in promo code LOCK15. That's built.com, promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off of your next order of Built Bar. All right, let's finish out. Let's talk about how we expect this game to go, I guess. I mean, not necessarily how we already kind of said how we expect it to go, but I guess more so, Jake, what do you think is your final score prediction? What exactly are you looking for? It might just be a rehash of what we've already done, but I mean, this isn't exactly a game everyone's super amped about, super excited about. So it's just, like you said, get in, get out. But what is it that you're hoping to see, and what's your final score prediction?
Yeah, what I really want to see us go out there and start fast, both on the defensive side of the ball and the offensive side of the ball. The first time we touch it, I would like to see a drive that ends in a touchdown. Of course, red zone offense has been an Achilles heel of us this season. Would love to see us execute down in the red zone against Maryland's defense. Defensively, I'd like to see a clean game until maybe later in the game when we start to get into our depth a little bit. That's when I see Maryland maybe scoring a couple points. And I'm looking for some type of catalyst, a big play on special teams, whether it's a big punt or kick return or a blocked punt, something to really swing the momentum and take the heart out of the Maryland team at some point, in that first, second, third quarter. So ultimately, I see a dominant performance by Michigan this week. I think Maryland's completely outmatched. And if we don't come out fast, worries me a little bit. But everything that tells me about our leadership, about the way this team's carry themselves, and their understanding of the big picture goal, meaning they know they have to beat Maryland or none of that matters. So everything about that gives me confidence. I'm gonna go ahead and predict a 42-10 win with those 10 points coming late in the game. I think the starters should be able to handle business until we start getting into our depth on the defensive side of the ball.
That's what I'm hoping will happen. I think it will be slightly different, but I think that they'll start fast, probably not as fast as the last time that they were in College Park when Giles Jackson took the opening kick for a touchdown. No Giles Jackson out there to take the opening kick for a touchdown. Who knows if we'll see Blake Corum or not to be the first guy to take the kick as it is. But I think that it will be a situation where they're going to get tested a little bit more than I think people would want to see, at least early. Just based off of, again, this is a more prolific passing offense. They're going to find a way to get some things done. There's going to be some early scripts by Mike Locksley and company that I think is going to test the Michigan defense. And I think it will go the other way. I think Maryland will start hot, and then Michigan will shut. Actually, it might have been like 40-17, but we'll split the difference. We'll say 35-17 Michigan. I think Maryland will certainly look like a test, but the game won't be particularly close. We see the least in the fourth quarter, we see a lot of the reserves play. So, all right, that's going to do it for us. Next week, we get into the game, Ohio State. It's the game that everyone's been waiting for. Hopefully, it's 10-1 Michigan versus 10-1 Ohio State. You can only dream, but that dream likely to become a reality, barring some kind of insanity that happens in Columbus, or I guess in College Park as well. So for the Mackey Award-winning tight end Jake Butt, I am Isaiah Ohl. We will talk to you next week. Peace.